One of the questions I get asked all the time is, where do the really wealthy people in Tampa live? And the answer is, it depends. One thing I've noticed after years of selling real estate here is that wealthy buyers are just like everyone else in one way. They're looking for a lifestyle that fits them. The difference is they usually have more options to choose from. I also think people assume luxury is all about having the biggest house or spending the most money. But after working with buyers in this price range, I've learned that's usually not what drives the decision. Hi, my name's Alyssa, and I'm a local resident and realtor to Tampa, and I absolutely love sharing with you about the city and all the amazing things it has to offer for both those of you who already live here and those of you still trying to decide whether or not Tampa is your next move. If you found this fun and helpful, be sure to hit the bell so you get notified when I post new videos. If you are thinking about making the move to Tampa, click the link below to download my relocation guide or set up a time for us to talk one-on-one. Today, I want to take you through the different lifestyles Tampa's luxury market has to offer, the neighborhoods that fit each one best, and even talk about some of the well-known athletes, business owners, and celebrities who've called these places home over the years. Let's start with the lifestyle that probably comes to mind first when people think of luxury living in Tampa: boating. If someone tells me they own a boat and they actually use it, my brain immediately goes to a few neighborhoods like Davis Islands, Culbreath Isles, and certain parts of Beach Park. Davis Islands is probably the neighborhood people recognize the most, but I think one of the biggest misconceptions about Davis Islands is that people assume it's nothing more than giant waterfront mansions because those are the homes that get all the attention online. The reality is it's much more diverse than that. You'll find everything from beautifully restored historic homes to newer custom builds and condos, along with some of the most expensive waterfront properties in Tampa. That mix is part of what gives a neighborhood so much character. And when people think of Davis Islands, there's one house that almost everyone knows: Derek Jeter's estate. If you've lived in Tampa for a while, then you probably remember when it seemed like everyone was driving by just to catch a glimpse of it. Then it became even more famous when Tom Brady rented it after signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For a while, it felt like two of the biggest names in sports had put one Tampa neighborhood on the national map. The home itself was pretty incredible. Jeter combined 3 waterfront lots to create one massive estate overlooking the bay. The custom home measured nearly 22,000 square feet with 7 bedrooms, multiple entertaining spaces, a movie theater, wine cellar, gym, a saltwater lap pool, 2 boat lifts, and more than 300 feet of waterfront. When it sold in 2021 for $22.5 million, it became the most expensive home ever sold in the Tampa Bay area at the time. The interesting part, though, is what happened next. Those buyers filed plans to replace the home with an even larger custom estate. A demolition permit was filed, but as of this year, the original house is still standing while plans continue to move forward. It just goes to show you how valuable waterfront property on Davis Islands has become. Sometimes buyers aren't purchasing the house, they're purchasing the location. You're only a few minutes from downtown Tampa, Water Street, Hyde Park, Tampa General Hospital, and the airport. You can spend the morning out on the boat, come back home, clean up, and be downtown for dinner without feeling like you've driven across the city. That's a huge draw for business owners, executives, and people who want luxury without feeling disconnected from everything going on around them. Another thing I love about Davis Islands is that it actually feels like a neighborhood. There's a little downtown area with restaurants, coffee shops, and local businesses where people walk, ride bikes, and run into their neighbors. The island is also home to the Davis Islands Yacht Club, Peter O. Knight Airport, marinas, parks, tennis facilities, and one of the area's most well-known hospitals, Tampa General. Now, if someone tells me they want waterfront living but privacy is at the top of their list, I'm probably steering them toward Culbreath Isles. This is one of South Tampa's most exclusive gated communities, and it's been that way for decades. It was one of the first deed-restricted, guard-gated communities in Tampa, and even today, it continues to be one of the city's most prestigious addresses. The streets are quiet, the lots are generous, and many of the homes sit on deep water canals with direct access to Old Tampa Bay. If you own a larger boat or a yacht, this is one of the few places in Tampa where the canals are deep enough to comfortably accommodate them. Private docks and boat lifts are common, and many homes have well over 100 feet of waterfront. Architecturally, there's a lot of variety. You'll see everything from classic Mediterranean estates to sleek contemporary homes that look like they belong on the cover of a luxury design magazine. And because many of the original homes have been replaced over the years, buyers today are finding some truly incredible custom-built waterfront estates. One of the neighborhood's most notable recent listings came on the market for $10.5 million. The home offers more than 6,500 square feet of living space, resort-style outdoor areas, and sits on prime waterfront with direct bay access. One thing buyers also love is the location. You're only minutes from Tampa International Airport, International Plaza, the West Shore Business District, downtown Tampa, and some of South Tampa's best restaurants. So while the neighborhood feels private and further away from the city's hustle, you're never far from anything you need. And then there's Beach Park. Now, not every part of Beach Park is waterfront, but the waterfront section has some incredible estates along the bay and canals. I think Beach Park is one of the most underrated luxury neighborhoods in Tampa. It's one of South Tampa's oldest and most established neighborhoods, dating back to the 1920s. And unlike many newer luxury communities, Beach Park wasn't built all at once. It evolved over decades, and I think that's exactly what gives it so much character. You'll find winding streets, mature oak trees, oversized lots, and a mix of beautifully preserved historic homes alongside stunning custom estates. Location is another huge selling point. Like Culbreath Isles, you're a short drive to Tampa International, International Plaza, West Shore Business District, and everything else Tampa is known for. For executives who travel often, it's hard to beat. And then there's the waterfront. Some of Tampa's most impressive bayfront estates are in Beach Park, with open water views, private docks, and enough room for serious yachts. Waterfront inventory here is extremely limited, which is one of the reasons these homes command such incredible prices. One of the most talked about properties in recent years was the former Tampa home of George Steinbrenner. This waterfront estate hit the market for $12 million, and it wasn't just the size of the property that made it special. It offered a guest house, a tennis court, pool, private dock, and one of the largest waterfront parcels in all of South Tampa. A lot of buyers in this price range value privacy, and many of the highest-end transactions never make headlines because they happen quietly. Now let's talk about the exact opposite buyer. Not everyone with a big budget wants to be on the water. Some people don't want strangers driving by their house. They don't care about having a boat behind the house, but they want privacy, security, and a place where they can truly unplug when they get home. That's where Avila comes in. If you've lived in Tampa for a while, you've probably heard of Avila. It's been one of the city's most exclusive addresses for decades, and unlike a lot of luxury neighborhoods, you don't just wander in by accident. In Avila, the lots are larger, the streets are lined with mature trees, homes are set back farther from the road, so you don't feel like you're living right on top of your neighbors. And when you're driving through Avila, it feels established. It doesn't feel like a brand new luxury development where every house looks exactly the same. And because many of the homes sit on larger lots, you get something that's becoming harder and harder to find in Tampa, and that's space. That's one of the biggest reasons Avila continues to hold its value. You simply can't recreate a community like this today. Between the location, the size of the lots, the mature landscaping, and the security, it's a combination that's incredibly difficult to duplicate. Over the years, Avila has attracted some pretty recognizable names. Former Yankees like Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera have all lived here at different points, along with Buccaneers coaches Tony Dungy and John Gruden, and NFL Hall of Famer Warren Sapp, business executives, and Tampa families who have been successful for generations. And then there's the golf. Right in the middle of the community is Avila Golf and Country Club. It's one of Tampa's premier private clubs and offers championship golf, tennis, fitness facilities, dining, and a full social calendar for members. For a lot of buyers, that's a big part of why they're here. They're not just buying a house, they're buying into a lifestyle and a community. Now let's look at a completely different luxury buyer. This is the person who could absolutely buy a waterfront estate, but they don't want to. They've done the yard work, they've maintained the pool, they've spent weekends dealing with home projects, and now they're looking for something easier. This is where Tampa's luxury condo market really shines. Over the last several years, I've seen more and more buyers who want all the luxury without all the maintenance. They still want incredible finishes, beautiful views, great amenities, and a prime location. They just don't want to spend every weekend taking care of a house. One area that fits that lifestyle perfectly is Bayshore Beautiful. If you've ever driven down Bayshore Boulevard, you already know why people love it. It's one of the most iconic stretches in Tampa with miles of waterfront, the world's longest continuous sidewalk, and some of the most incredible views of the bay. What's really interesting is how Bayshore has evolved. For years, luxury buyers here were choosing buildings like the Monte Carlo Towers, the Bellamy, Bayshore Towers, or the Diplomat. But today, newer buildings like the Garage have raised the bar even higher, offering private elevator, foyers, expansive terraces, resort-style pools, fitness centers, concierge service, and panoramic views of the Hillsborough Bay. Buyers aren't just paying for square footage, they're paying for one of the best addresses in Tampa. Some of Tampa's most recognizable luxury condo buildings are along Bayshore, including newer buildings like the Garage, the Sanctuary, and Hyde Park House. Residents are choosing these buildings because they want to walk Bayshore in the morning, grab coffee nearby, meet friends for dinner in Hyde Park, and enjoy everything South Tampa has to offer without maintaining a large home. Then you have Harbour Island. Harbour Island has always been one of Tampa's premier luxury neighborhoods because it offers something that's hard to find, a gated community right next to downtown. You can walk to Water Street, the Riverwalk, and some of the city's best restaurants without ever getting in your car. For someone who travels often, works downtown, or simply wants to lock the door and leave for a few weeks, that's incredibly appealing. And speaking of Water Street, it's hard to talk about Tampa luxury without mentioning what's happened there over the last several years. I remember when Water Street didn't exist and this area looked completely different. Now the space has completely changed and become one of the most sought after places to live in Tampa. Luxury residences, 5-star hotels, rooftop pools, Michelin-recognized restaurants, coffee shops, fitness studios, and beautifully designed public spaces have completely transformed this part of downtown. This is where you'll find residences at the Tampa Edition, Pendry Residences, One Tampa, and several other luxury developments that have completely changed Tampa's skyline. The luxury condo market in Tampa reached another level when an MBA executive purchased a residence at the Tampa Edition for just under $8 million in 2022. At the time, it set the record for the highest priced condo sale in the Tampa Bay area and showed just how much demand there had become for luxury urban living in downtown Tampa. What's interesting is who's buying these homes. Yes, you'll find business executives, entrepreneurs, physicians, and professional athletes, but you'll also find a lot of empty nesters. They're at a point in life where they don't need 5 bedrooms anymore because the kids have moved out. They're choosing experiences over extra space, and they'd rather travel more, walk to dinner, and spend Saturday morning on Bayshore instead of maintaining a big house. Another group buying here are people looking for a second home. Maybe they live in Chicago, New York, Boston, or other cool parts of the country for part of the year and want a place in Tampa where they can fly in, enjoy the winter, lock the door when they leave, and know everything is taken care of. One thing all of these luxury condo communities have in common is the amenities. Depending on the building, you may have valet parking, concierge services, resort-style pools, fitness centers, private residence lounges, dog parks, spas, meeting spaces, guest suites, and restaurants just an elevator ride away. I think that's something people outside the luxury market don't always realize. Luxury doesn't always mean more. Sometimes it means less maintenance, less stress, and more time enjoying your life. One thing that's really interesting about Tampa is that our luxury market has changed a lot over the last 10 to 15 years. Years ago, if someone asked where the wealthiest people lived, the answer was pretty straightforward. You had neighborhoods like Palma, Ceia, Gulf View Beach Park, and parts of Sunset Park. These were established neighborhoods where a lot of Tampa families built businesses, raised their kids, and stayed for generations. Some of those families are still there today. There's a history to those neighborhoods that you just can't recreate. But Tampa isn't the same city it was 20 years ago. We've had thousands of people move here from California, New York, Chicago, Boston, and just about everywhere else in between. Some came because of jobs, some came because they wanted to pay less in taxes, others came because they realized they could have a completely different lifestyle here. That has completely changed the luxury market. Today's luxury buyer isn't always looking for the same things someone was looking for 30 years ago. Some want a brand new waterfront home with floor-to-ceiling glass and a rooftop terrace. Some want a lock-and-leave condo where they can walk downstairs for coffee and dinner. Others still want that traditional estate on a quiet street with a golf course nearby. None of them are wrong. They're just buying for different reasons. And I think that's what makes Tampa so unique. If you've made it this far, I'd love to know which lifestyle fits you best. Let me know down in the comments because I'm always curious what people picture when they think about their dream lifestyle.